All right. It says we are live. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Wrestling Show here on Unloaded Media. Tonight, with us so far, we have Mr. Squibload. How are you tonight?
Not as irascible as I was earlier, but I'm working on it.
Okie dokie. And then next, we have Mr. Jason Stewart. How are you tonight?
Where?
I don't know. You tell me. You're there.
Oh, you said Mister. Okay, I thought my
I was
dad was
being
here.
nice, man. Come on.
About ruining my day. I thought my dad was here. No, thanks for the invite, man. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. So, yeah, we were talking before going on air about what the topic's going to be tonight, and those of you out there that see the title of the show, we got some interesting goings on with WWE this week. They fired one of their biggest stars in a fella some of you out there may know by the name of Braun Strowman. That came as a shock to everybody. This guy was picking on Shane McMahon at WrestleMania this year and beat him in a match. And then last month at the pay-per-view right after WrestleMania, the very next one, he was in a triple threat match for the WWE title. So, don't know what to make of this one. This is just craziness. And they're claiming it was for budget cuts. So he was making $1 million a year reportedly on his contract. And WWE's fired a bunch of people since WrestleMania. They've had 3 different times now since WrestleMania where people were fired. Some of them were main roster people right after, like the week after WrestleMania, that got fired. And then like a month later, you had a few people from NXT that got fired. And now this past week, they basically took a whole division of the company, did away with it, combined it with another division, and fired a bunch of people from there to downsize that division and let go of a few more of the wrestlers, including, like I said, Braun Strowman of all people. It's some of the other guys, people were, the writing was on the wall with some of these people because they weren't really using them. But Braun Strowman, man, they let him go, especially when you got the competition really starting to heat up between them, AEW, and within AEW's partners in Impact and New Japan now. It's crazy. We were talking before the show that potentially this it almost has the earmarks of them downsizing in preparation for a sale of the company. So, what do you guys think on this?
Oh, getting paid $1 million for being a WWE superstar. Doesn't that seem like a kind of a low amount of money?
No, that's actually one of the higher contracts.
Didn't like other guys years ago make more? Like wasn't like Bret Hart making like $4 million or something?
He wasn't making that much on his contract. There's other things that they do besides that, but as far as the base contract, no, $1 million is a fairly good contract. The average contract for WWE is between $250,000 and $500,000 a year, depending on how good you are. There's only a handful of people that are making the kind of money that Strowman was making. Like Roman Reigns would be making that much. Randy Orton would be making that much. Edge would be making that much. Cena, if he were there, would be making that much. Brock Lesnar, if he's there, would be making that much. There's not many guys that are making that kind of money. I mean, it's crazy. But I mean, you've had. I think when Cena was there, when he was still wrestling, well, technically he's still employed by WWE, but he hasn't been there forever. He's still under contract with them if he decides he can come back whenever he wants. But when he was wrestling, he was making I think like $4 million a year. But some of that was also endorsements he had that he got through the company doing different things. But his base salary was like $1.5 million, and he was at the time he was the highest paid on the roster. So it's like the NFL. You know how they'll have incentives on their contracts. WWE works that same way. You got guaranteed money, then you have incentives. And that's pretty much how they all work. You have guaranteed money, and then you'll have different incentives, and then you can go out and WWE doesn't let them do their own, go out there and get their own endorsements unless you're someone like Brock Lesnar, because if they don't let Brock Lesnar have his endorsements, he ain't going to sign with them. Let's be perfectly honest. He makes a lot of money by having that Jimmy John's logo on his wrestling shorts. So he's like the only guy that has his own endorsement contract. Anybody else with WWE, you cannot have your own personal endorsements. Any endorsements you have to be through the company. You were
He's
going to say
got
something?
Jimmy John's either over his ass or over his junk.
No. What he wears is more like gym shorts. On the leg of on the one leg of his gym shorts, it's
Oh,
usually his right leg. He has the Jimmy John's logo. Like I got Under Armour shorts on right now. Where the Under Armour logo would be, he has a Jimmy John's logo there.
all right. Because I mean, if you had the regular wrestling briefs, whatever you want to call those, and you wanted a sponsor to go across the front, tights. Yeah, I would say go with Arby's. We have the meats.
Yeah, but he's got the Jimmy John's logo on one leg, and then he has on the other leg he has another one. I don't remember what the other sponsor is.
Where's the beef?
He's
Wendy's.
he's the only guy that's allowed to have his own personal logos like that. You there, Kingpin?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you heard anything about what we were talking about?
I heard the name Braun Strowman, and that's about all I could put together.
He was fired this week.
Peace out.
You remember who Braun Strowman is?
Yeah.
From WrestleMania? The big guy that beat the crap out of Shane McMahon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Last month at the pay-per-view, he was wrestling for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. He was fired this week.
Fired like real life, or fired as a part of the act?
No, fired as in real life. Him and a bunch of other people lost their jobs with WWE this week in so-called budget cuts.
Doesn't it suck that you have to ask if it's scripted or real?
All right, yeah.
Well, it is professional wrestling,
Is this real world or exercise?
But no, he was actually fired for real.
Yeah. Those are WWE guys, right?
Yeah.
Canned.
Yeah.
Now, do you think it's actually budgetary issues, and the fact that I heard you allude to the other companies are starting to pick up a lot of speed, but could it just be personnel issues, and they're just like, look, go spend more time with your family. You know how everybody, when they retire because they can't play their sport anymore, say they do it so they can spend more time with their family.
Oh no, it's not that situation, because some of the other people that were fired, the writing was on the wall because they weren't doing anything with them. But these were people that were at the top of their game. They just weren't doing anything with them, so they let them go. This looks, in all honesty, because they downsized their corporate offices too. They had two different divisions that worked on promotional materials for two different things. One, product promotion, and the other one was the show promotions and stuff. They did away with one of those divisions and combined them together and fired half of that staff as well. This almost looks like when a company takes and they minimize operations in preparation for a sale. as in they're potentially maybe going to sell the company. And there's been some speculation, even though there hasn't been any hard evidence, nobody's said anything. But with the recent contracts that they've been doing with NBC, some people are wondering if NBC is going to be buying the company. I've heard a couple of different ones of the people that do the speculation on this saying they're wondering if Vince is selling to NBC.
So what are the tea leaves telling you? Is it telling you that the WWE's in financial trouble, or they're trying to
Oh no,
restructure, or the McMahons are just tired of doing it and they're trying to get out from underneath it?
I'm thinking that Vince may just be getting tired of it. The last year, even with the COVID, it was their most profitable year ever. So it's not the fact that they're not making money. I'm wondering if Vince has just had enough. In the past, Vince was at every SmackDown and Raw show. Okay? Last year and this year, he has missed episodes where he wasn't there. That's never happened before. I'm seriously wondering if he is preparing to sell the company, if he's just not burned out on it now. Especially with the, especially with last year when he was going to bring back the XFL and they were doing good, and all of a sudden COVID came along and that killed the league there. And I'm just wondering if he's just had enough.
Well,
he's up there in age.
I get Vince McMahon's not your regular person. If he was your regular person, WWE wouldn't exist. So we understand that.
Oh yeah,
he's an extraordinary person when it comes down to business. If we'll just keep it right on the line of business, so maybe that type of personality has a different mindset. But if I was 75 years old and multi-millionaire with a huge legacy of success and famous people that I created, I'd probably take some of that money and go chill on a beach somewhere and hang out with my wife and tell her to quit dealing with politics and let's just go enjoy the rest of our. I mean, how many times can you get body slammed by a 28-year-old dude on steroids when you're 75 years old?
Well, he hasn't even been. His on-screen character of Mr. McMahon hasn't been around for a long time now. He hasn't gotten physical for a while. So I mean, that's not even an issue at this point. It's just, but he is so hands-on with everything that for him not to appear, because he's got final say on everything that happens. There have been reports from various different wrestlers and other people that have either left the company because their contracts were up or been let go or what have you, and they all say the same thing, that Vince has torn up the script an hour before they've gone live before, and they're like just writing it as the show's going on. Like the first match will be written an hour before it goes on, and then the main event isn't written until like a half hour before the main event's supposed to go on. So I'm saying, I'm wondering if, with his age and everything, he's just not getting burned out on it and just deciding that it's time to quit and go relax on the beach, like you were saying.
Well, he's in a win-win position.
Oh yeah.
Unless, of course, I mean, it can be. There's obviously branches that could veer off in the win-win columns, but for the most part, if he hands over the company as it is, and it's a success, he can be like, "Look, I left you guys a gold mine. You made a gold mine out of it. I'm awesome." If he hands it over how it is and it turns into crap, he can be like, "Well, see, you needed me after all. Too bad, too sad."
Yeah, and what makes this even crazier is if the speculation that they may be selling to NBC. What's that do for the contract with Fox? because Fox signed a multi-year contract with the WWE for the rights to broadcast SmackDown every week.
And they'll live out that contract. Don't I mean none of this kind of stuff really happens overnight. When a company
Oh, yeah.
acquires another company or buys another company or goes bankrupt, there's still years worth of stuff that's got to get straightened out. So it's not like it just ends right away.
Yeah, well, I understand that. I'm just throwing this out there to, to get people talking. It's like you and I are the only ones talking right now.
But I guess you got to, if you're thinking about it from the network's perspective, you'd almost be nervous if you're NBC because Fox is your competitor. Fox has got your programming right now, and if Fox knows in 6 months that's my program, are they going to try to tank it and hand over a lemon to me that I'm going to have to fix, or who knows? But you also might be in the consideration that Fox is going to want to get as much positive revenue out of it as they can for up to the last minute that the contract lasts.
Yeah, and what makes everybody think speculate that maybe NBC is buying is that WWE has basically done away with the WWE network in the United States. They still have the WWE network overseas, but the reason why they did away with it here in the U.S. is because all that content is being transferred over to Peacock. Who owns Peacock? NBC.
So when I think NBC, I think like local channel 2. I think that's what NBC is now. I don't know. But I think of NBC, like the big broadcasting station.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna play wrestling on their TGIF lineup or their Monday night, primetime lineup.
Isn't
Fox?
NBC tied with Universal? So I mean,
Yes,
they're a
they
bigger
are.
company, right?
Yes, and they own USA Network, which is the home of Monday Night Raw.
Well, and that's obviously what I'm trying to pull apart is where these other branches come from.
Yeah.
Because like I said, your mainstream big time broadcast station NBC is not putting wrestling on. No way.
You want to bet?
Yeah.
Okay, I can disprove that bet right now. Fox doesn't broadcast SmackDown on FX. Fox broadcasts SmackDown on Fox.
Fox is not NBC. NBC is
No, they're Disney.
the Shield
Fox
and
is Disney.
Marvel and I'm talking about your big broadcast NBC channel, like the old
Yeah,
school NBC, CBS, ABC, the big broadcast networks.
and Fox is one of those big broadcast networks now. They have been for decades.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. But Fox is also known for. I mean, remember the whole Al Bundy thing? They made fun of Fox for playing Married with Children. Al Bundy would say, "You want to put a show like this on Fox." So Fox has always been known for stepping out and doing a little bit more risky stuff, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, and NBC has had wrestling on it fairly recent. They they re they did a few episodes of Saturday Night's Main Event where they brought that back on NBC, and NBC has also shown reruns of the WrestleMania from that year. And they've had the Tribute to the Troops special on NBC a few years as well. So I wouldn't put it past NBC to put professional wrestling, if professional wrestling starts making the big comeback where you start getting a lot of people watching it again like you used to.
Well, when they
To
bump
put that on there.
NCIS for Monday Night Raw, let me know.
Well, that's on CBS.
I
That's
don't
wrong. Yeah. NBC has not been doing well in the weeknight ratings on their television series.
Well, none of the networks are doing any good. People are starting to turn it. I mean, you got the internet for
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
NBC's also the ones that edited the police cam video and took the knife out of the girl's hand,
Yeah.
hoping they could influence some, riots and stuff.
But,
That's the part where I don't like. You keep talking about, NBC's supposed to buy them. I'm just sitting here thinking the whole time, man, I hope not.
well, that's NBC News. That's a different division. This will be NBC Entertainment's entertainment division. But if you look at the primetime TV, even the shows that are the top shows, none of them do the numbers they used to. But NBC is in last place in almost every night of the week to ABC and CBS. They are not doing well.
All the networks did exactly what to keep it related to wrestling, and I'll rewind my tape and play it again. NBC effectively, ABC, CBS, all them, Comedy Central, all the big stations that used to get a lot of ratings, effectively made all their main events women's matches.
The big thing though is Peacock, man, because they're already streaming all WWE's pay-per-views on them. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least if they were to announce in a few weeks that NBC is going to be buying the WWE, or they're going to be entering into a bigger contract with NBC, where NBC has maybe partial ownership or something along those lines. It's going to be interesting to see where this is going, if it goes anywhere. So a lot of the speculation now is, where's Braun Strowman going to go from here?
Now, if he's fired, that's free to do whatever you want. No more conflict of interest. No more. What's the thing called, Squibby, when you promise not to go work for another company that does the same thing that you do, one of the competitors?
Yeah, that's a non-compete clause, and no, whenever it's in their contract that whenever they release from their contract, they are under a 90-day compete clause, unless their contract expires or they have less than 90 days left on their contract when they're let go. His contract, he still had 2 years on it, so he's under a 90-day no compete right now.
Oh, so he got the summer vacation.
Yeah, basically.
Buck has joined us out there. Snob's been out there. MK Joe's out there.
Yep. Squib's out there too, and so are you. And Kingpin. But yeah, I'm thinking that he may. I don't know if he would, but New Japan loves the big guys. The Japanese go crazy for the big foreigner guys.
It's a sushi culture.
Brock Lesnar was big in Japan when he was wrestling over there. Hogan was big when he was wrestling over there. A lot of people don't realize this. Before Hogan signed, when he left WWE and before signing with WCW, Hogan went over to New Japan and was wrestling over there for a while, for a few months and stuff. And they actually had him in their championship program for the IWGP heavyweight title. And there were plans that if he would have stayed with them, that they were going to put their belt on Hogan. And he did a lot more wrestling over there than what he did here. It wasn't just kick somebody in the face, leg drop, and match over. He was doing actual wrestling moves over there. If you watch some of the old videos of Hogan when he was in New Japan.
Hey, can I ask you, why is it called New Japan? Was there like a old Japan or a occupied Japan wrestling, or
before New Japan? Yeah, there actually were other Japanese promotions. You had All Japan Wrestling, which predates New Japan. So when Antonio Inoki founded New Japan Wrestling, that's why he named it New Japan, was because of All Japan. And he took some of the people from, because he worked for All Japan, and he would come over to the U.S. too and wrestle in places like the WWF in a partnership program with them. When he left to found his own, he took a bunch of the wrestlers from there with him, and that's why it's New Japan.
You think the Japanese are desensitized to the extravagance of the size of American and foreign wrestlers yet?
No,
You don't think they've gotten kind of used to it since they've been exposed to it so much?
nope. They love the big guys over there.
So what's going to make the guy the most money? Where's he going to go and get a championship belt put on him?
Any place. I mean, he could end up in Impact. Impact. He would do well anywhere he goes. To be
All right.
honest.
Hold up. Wait a second. Let's think about this one. Let's go back to the boardroom. They fired him from WWE, and they said it was just because, like, I can't remember, financial reasons. They just didn't
budgetary cuts. Budgetary
cuts. So I guess they'll write him a letter of accommodation and everything like that. If I'm New Japan and I'm sitting there going, well, this guy's title worthy. Like, if this guy's main event title worthy, why didn't they fire like 3 bums and keep this guy?
Because they fired a bunch of people. It wasn't just him. He's just the biggest name out of the ones that were fired. They fired like 20 different wrestlers.
So if you're New Japan, do you hire him and put a title belt on him right away?
The potential is there, especially with right now they don't have a world heavyweight champion because Will Ospreay hurt his neck and he's going to be out for almost a year. So they have it penned in where the match is going to be Kazuchika Okada versus I see his face, but I can't remember his name right now. But he's one of the guys that's in Los Ingobernables de Japón, which is one of the stables over there. So, but
well, yeah. in the other wrestling, there doesn't your boy Kenny Omega, doesn't he have like 3 or 4 belts right now?
Yeah, he's got 4.
Okay, so you basically have an opening over there in that division for 3 top champion type wrestlers because he can't hold all the belts forever.
They're different promotions. He's got the world heavyweight title from 3 different promotions. The 4th one is a championship that was defunct, and for some reason, as a gimmick thing, they decided to bring it back. Impact has both the Impact and the TNA World Heavyweight titles in play right now, which makes absolutely no sense because the Impact World Heavyweight title is the TNA World Heavyweight title.
All right, I'm going to stick with Jason's point here. If you take that guy Kenny Omega, and he's got 4 titles, so you take 3 titles away from him. You give him the most prestigious one, the one that's going to earn him the most fame and the biggest paycheck. Let him keep that. Can those other 3 titles stand without Kenny Omega being attached to him? Could they go to another wrestler and still be considered cool, or would it be like, you just stole the belt from Kenny Omega? That's dumb.
Yeah, they could. Depends on who they put him on. Like the one title is actually the One Federation in Mexico championship, the AAA title. That's a championship in Mexico.
Well, I mean, it's not depends. Let's depend on how many people got fired from WWE, and let's depend on them getting one of these titles.
Oh, if any of them's going to, it's going to be Braun Strowman. He's the only bona fide main eventer from WWE. That's not to say there aren't guys that were fired that could have been main eventers, but WWE wasn't using them for anything. They were just sitting there collecting dust, essentially.
So any one of those 4 belts you strap on Braun Strowman, and it's a good thing.
Yes.
All right.
You think as Braun Strowman is well, he's big enough and strong enough to play the role, but you think they could morph him into somebody kind of like Goldberg?
Well, he's bigger and stronger.
Well, I mean, just comes in the scene and just totally cleans house for like a year. You know what I mean? Just takes everybody out. Yeah. Takes on 10 at once if he has to, but just comes in and just totally, the crowd's cheering for him, as soon as he walks through the door,
Oh, yes.
They build him up to that?
Oh, definitely they could. had him. He was at one point when he went solo, broke away from the Wyatt family. That was Bray Wyatt's stable, which had the now deceased Brody Lee in the stable as well, and Eric Rowan. They were all big guys. Strowman was the biggest of all of them. And when he went solo, they had him right off the bat feuding with Roman Reigns for the Universal title. They had him flipping ambulances and all kinds of other shit. He could be that character easily. There is no doubt at all. And not only is he big and strong, he's also deceptively quick for his size. This is a guy that's 6'8", weighs 350, 375 pounds, and it's all muscle. He's a genetic freak. His dad's the same way. They've shown him next to his dad, and they both had their shirts off working on the farm. They're both just massive guys.
So does he claim to be like an American? Or
he is American.
Yeah, but I mean, with that name, do they claim him like from being from Transylvania or
no, he's
parts unknown or something?
No, it's kind of hard to do that when he's got the state of North Carolina tattooed on the inside of his left arm. he's definitely American, and they've never claimed that he's from somewhere else. That was just some name that Vince McMahon made up and put on him. What the hell is his? I know his real name and I can't think of it right now because he uses his real name on Instagram, and I can't remember what it right now for the life of me. I can't remember what it is.
John P. Unemployed.
But yeah, he's definitely an American. There's no doubt about it. Now, what would be interesting is him going to AEW before he would ever challenge Kenny Omega is him versus Miro. If you guys remember who Miro is from the AEW pay-per-view we watched, he used to be Rusev in WWE. By the way, his wife was fired too from the WWE. She was one of the ones that was fired. There's speculation that she may end up in AEW teamed with him again.
What was her name?
In WWE, it was Lana. She used to be his manager, and she was training to be a wrestler at the same time. She was actually getting better and better and better. It was some people were shocked that they let her go too, with as much as she was improving. Real quick, we got a question out there from Buck. He wants to know if New Japan has started in the U.S. New Japan's been going in the U.S. this whole time during the pandemic. They've been doing basically a studio show this whole time. It airs on their network on Friday nights. So, yeah, New Japan's been in the U.S. this whole time. Just like everybody else, they haven't been touring or anything. So, yeah, there's definitely... So, yeah, New Japan, like I said, they've been in the U.S. And they've been sending guys over a lot more lately. They've got one of the older guys, Kojima, has been wrestling with Impact, the past few Impacts and stuff. So New Japan is definitely getting more active in the U.S. with sending guys from Japan over, as well as having their guys that were over here already wrestling out of the L.A. dojo, as they call it, which is their American headquarters out in Los Angeles. And they've also been sending guys over to AEW because you had damn it, who was it that Moxley just defended the belt against? It was Blue Justice. That was his real name. God damn it! I'm doing great with names tonight. But anyway, Moxley won that match. We talked about that a few weeks ago about how that match was going to be going on. Moxley won that match like I predicted he would. But it was a good match. So, yeah, New Japan is still having people coming over and whatnot. What are we looking at, Jason?
Is this the one you said got fired?
Yep, that's her. That's Miro's wife.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Company's probably better off without her. Huh. What a wonderful girl.
Stacy says she can hear you drooling.
Nah, I still got my eye on the bunny, I think.
Well, speaking of the bunny, Britt Baker, another one that you drooled over a little bit during the one pay-per-view. She is now the AEW Women's Champion.
No, not Britt Baker. The other one was Penelope Ford or something.
Well, yeah, well, before you saw Penelope, there were like 4 different women during that pay-per-view you started drooling over, Jason.
Yeah, well, once I move on,
Yeah, let's be honest here. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just one. Because you had, let's see, you were drooling over Britt Baker. Then you noticed her, the person that came out with her, and you were drooling over her. Well, that would have been Rebel. And then you saw Penelope, and you're like, "Ooh, what's that out there?" Yeah, you were drooling over quite a few people that night.
I'm trying to remember it in my mind. It was a good night. I'll never forget what's her name.
Uh-huh. Man, I was telling you that night, don't count the bunny short, because you saw her too, but she didn't catch your attention that night. But apparently, she's got your attention since then.
Yeah, I like that silly little look she has.
Stacy says this is almost as bad as Kingpin with the Burger King girl. You weren't even there for that one, Stacy.
She was drooling over me, by the way.
Yeah, that is kind of true. She was kind of drooling all over Kingpin. She was leaning out the window trying to get his attention, and then we got a bag full of napkins. I think we had more napkins in the bag than there was food in the bag.
The King's going all out.
That's what it is, Kingpin, Burger King, This chick just had a thing for people with the name King in their name.
People treat you different when you walk around with a crown on your head.
And a smoking revolver.
Yeah, the gun doesn't hurt to help people get out of the way either.
Especially when there's still smoke coming out on the top of it, because it's been popped off recently.
So I said the smoking revolver.
Just a peaceful protest.
Yeah, things are definitely getting interesting in the wrestling world, to say the least. But a couple of there's a couple of the other guys that were released, like the one that was known as Aleister Black in WWE, whose name before that, when he was on the Independents, was Tommy End. He could end up making waves in either New Japan in their junior heavyweight division, or in AEW in the TNT title division. Even though Mero right now is the champion in that division, he's going to be a hard beat if they play the character properly to get the belt off of him. He could do well there. And then another guy, what's his name? Buddy Murphy, that's who it is. He's an Australian guy, but he would do well in those divisions as well, or in Impact in the X division. Now that I think about it, both of those guys would be good in that division too. So the fact that WWE wasn't doing anything with either one of these guys is insane, because they were both NXT champion at one point, and Murphy was the longest reigning WWE Cruiserweight champion since they brought that championship back.
Why weren't they using them?
Because they got too many goddamn people. Put it in to be blunt about it. When AEW was started up, WWE started signing people left, right, and center. They got too many people. Their roster is way too full. And they got people that are just sitting there, like I said, collecting dust. It's a travesty what they're doing with these people.
Hey, man, here's something pretty cool that happened. When you look at your show on YouTube, it like changed the screen thumbnail, and it's got that girl in them black yoga pants that I was looking at on your thumbnail for your video.
Good job, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys could definitely make waves in the other promotions. And we're not even talking about Ring of Honor. They could go to Ring of Honor and just revolutionize things. Well, I think no, I don't know if either one of those guys was ever in Ring of Honor. Now that I think about it, but they definitely could be and do something there too. I mean, there's options for them for sure. Jason, how can you miss the bunny when you never even met her? Come on, of course you got to miss Stacy Moore. You can't miss somebody you never actually met.
Oh, yes, you can.
No, you can fantasize, but you're not actually missing them.
I miss thinking about you.
Yeah, right. Your demented mind, you're not missing thinking about anybody. I'm perfectly honest here.
So why didn't Braun Strowman just fade off in the distance and enjoy his money and his family? Or do you know anything about? Is he a gambler or an alcoholic or something like that?
No.
Does he have 50 of his closest friends with him at all times?
No, he's not like that at all. He's an extremely humble guy.
So what's the chances of him just hitting his bat, laying his gloves in the ring, and enjoying the rest of his life?
It's always a possibility.
Open a pizza shop or something in his town.
Well, his family, like his cousins and stuff, we were talking about this before we went. They own like a gun shop, and they were doing YouTube gun content until fairly recently, and he was appearing on that channel.
Yeah, is he gonna can you make a living doing that?
If your name's Braun Strowman or whatever your real name is, and you start up a YouTube channel, yeah, people are going to watch, and you're going to get sponsors.
Yeah.
And like I said, the channel was his the family gun shops, and that business's channel, so they were already making money off of it. No, this was before YouTube really started cracking down on gun channels and shit too. So,
what kind of channel was it? Was it like shooting watermelons, or was it a 2A channel, or was it
a combination? Yeah, he's on his Instagram. He's done 2A stuff and shooting videos and stuff. He's the guy. If you remember way back when, I told you on his Instagram channel they had a picture of him holding a full-size Nighthawk Agent 2 1911, and it looked like almost like a Smith & Wesson shield in his hand because how big his hand is.
Right. Yeah.
According to the Google search here, that Braun Strowman there, how do you say that name?
Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman. Yeah. Walmart's got lots of different action figures for him, like $12.
Has he ever considered just changing his name? Because I mean, he's not Bram Stoker or Strom Thurmond, but
this was his stage name. That's his stage name. That's not his real name.
Yeah, maybe now like he could change his appearance, shave up that beard or do something different, bring him out as somebody.
Like I said, I can't remember. I know what his real name is, but I can't frickin' remember. I'm sure if you looked it up on Wikipedia or IMDb, it would say what his real name is.
I like the angle Squid was taken. Much better.
Well, I'm sure he's not going to be using the name Braun Strowman wherever he ends up because WWE is going to have that copyrighted.
I'd name him like Big Billy Bastard or something.
Adam Shearer, that's his real name.
Shift? Is that what you said?
Shearer. SCHERR.
Sounds like
what the fuck ever. I just call you Brom.
Well, it's a German last name. So his first name's Adam. That's easy enough to pronounce.
Looks like I just call you Adolf.
Yeah, he doesn't look like an Adolf. He doesn't have that silly little mustache.
What, you didn't get that? Don't you remember, what was it, Lethal Weapon 2? Dude couldn't pronounce his name. He's there. He goes, "Oh, what the fuck? I'll just call you Adolf."
Yeah, I know. The South African guy, yeah.
Arjun or Aryan or fuck it, I'll just call you Adolf.
Mm-hmm. Still, all the guys that they released, man, it's crazy that they released him. Still, it's like, wow. Yeah, nobody was expecting that. There were rumors that there were going to be more cuts coming, but nobody was expecting somebody of that level in the company.
Wheels out there now.
Yeah, put a black and white. 3. Yeah, put a black and white mask, Mr. Wrestling number 3. Yeah, there's a callback to the early '80s. There, wheeled and well armed. Holy cow! I might be the only one on the panel now that gets that reference.
When I hear that, I think of what was it, Starman from the Nintendo wrestling game? The guy that had the star on his face and did the belly splash.
I don't know if I ever played that one.
I can't remember what the name of it is now.
Isn't Starman a movie and a TV series?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wheeled and Well Armed says Mr. Wrestling comes from the 70s. Yeah, but Mr. Wrestling number 2 was still wrestling in the 80s.
The game is called Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, never played it.
Did they ever name one of their shows like Prime Time Wrestling or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay,
that was on USA. That was on USA Network, and it was hosted by Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's where they showed different clips from different house shows and stuff.
When they sit behind like their little desk booth, like they were like the news channel or something.
Yeah, and they had like the screen in between the two of them. Yeah. And whenever they would go to watch the clips, they would like turn around and face the screen.
Yeah, turn to watch the screen together. Yeah. Just classic show format.
Yeah, that was definitely a thing. I watched that every Monday night. They took that off the air to put Monday Night Raw on. Gordon Sully, there's a name from the past too.
Yeah.
Good old Gordon Sully. I still say I don't give a shit what people say about it. Oh, JR's the best announcer ever. No, he's not. Gordon Sully was. Jim Ross is overrated, and he needs to retire. That man is getting senile. He gets people's names wrong. In AEW, he gets the names of moves wrong all the time.
He's had 15 strokes.
No, yeah.
He's had at least 2.
Yeah, he's had his health issues with that. Yeah,
he's had at least 2.
No. He's got Bell's palsy. He's never, as far as I know, JR has never had a stroke or anything.
I thought he had a stroke. Either way,
no, that was Jerry Lawler had a heart attack.
We're talking about the I can't remember. No, I forgot his name. The announcer guy. Yeah, I hate
Jim Ross. Good old JR.
Yeah, he sucked.
Well, Stone Cold punched him and stunnered him and broke his heart, man.
He deserved it.
Yeah, I've never been a real big Jim Ross fan. I never did think he was all that great as what people made him out to be.
Nah, he's lame.
It's like people have all this nostalgia for the Attitude Era in WWE. If you go back and you watch those old Attitude Era matches, they suck. The Attitude Era was not that good. Is it better than what they got now? Yeah. But is it the greatest era in professional wrestling ever? Nope.
Yeah, the Attitude Era is why it sucks now. Because they had to go so far away from that because that sucked. And people got tired of it. Then they went to what they're doing now, and people don't like it. I'm talking WWE's mostly, like the clown show that thing is.
Yeah. Wheeled in Alarm's asking, are really old wrestling TV shows retelevised? ESPN on one of their alternate channels, I don't remember if it was ESPN2 or ESPN3, used to show some of the old like AWA shows and stuff that they had on there back in the 80s. If you look on Peacock, if you got the Peacock service, streaming service, they may have some as part of the what they're getting on there from over on the WWE network. So those will be your best bets if you're trying to find some of the old stuff to watch. To see if I don't know if ESPN's still showing the old shows or not. But a couple of years ago they were.
Watch them on YouTube.
Hey, you can do that too. But I know ESPN was showing like the old AWA stuff and that because the kids when they were into wrestling were asking me about it, and I was scrolling through the channels one day and found that, so we would sit down and we'd watch the old AWA shows back when Shawn Michaels was just a kid. Him and Marty Jannetty.
That's a heartbreak kid to you.
Well, this was before he was the Heartbreak Kid. They had matches with him before the Rockers were even a thing. Well, they would have been the Midnight Rockers in the AWA, but yeah, they had matches with him before he was ever teamed up with Marty Jannetty. He was like 18, 19 years old at the time. I mean, it was wild seeing those old matches with him being that young. And he was bigger at the time too. He got smaller, if you can believe. It was like I don't know if he was on steroids and was, or what it was, but by the time he got with Marty Jannetty, he lost some weight. Wheel Arm wants to know if anybody's seen the footage of Andy Kaufman wrestling women. Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, I remember that.
I also remember Andy Kaufman getting his face slapped off by Jerry Lawler, which, by the way, was a work. The only person that wasn't in on that was David Letterman. That's why you get the reaction from Letterman that you do. That was planned by JR. I mean, not by JR, by Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman. They planned that and didn't tell Letterman they were going to do that spot.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman's a wild dude. That's pretty understandable. The one that I like the best is the guy. He still does reporting. He was on Fox or something like that. David Schultz smacked the piss out of him.
Oh,
Stossel.
Yeah, John Stossel.
Yeah, that was great, man. He rocked that dude's world. I mean, it kind of sucks that he did it. I mean, it's not cool, but since it didn't happen to me and I was only a little kid, that was funny, man.
Yeah, we're not talking about the movie. Did anybody say anything about the movie? Andy Kaufman? No. I remember that. I've seen the actual footage from when he was wrestling women, and the actual footage and the actual incident on the
late show with Letterman. Yeah,
the late night with David Letterman. That was where Jerry Lawler slapped the shit out of him. That was a set up thing. That was planned work that they did to promote the angle that was going to be coming up between Lawler and Kaufman. They didn't tell Letterman they were going to do that, and Letterman's reaction was he thought he was going to kill him because he didn't know that was real. Wasn't real. That they had planned to do that.
Didn't he like stand up, and bust him in his chops while he was sitting in the chair there?
Yeah. The whole thing was Kaufman said something. King was supposed to be pissed off, got up and slapped the shit out of him. That was fake. They planned to do that. That was part of that. They planned that, and they didn't tell Letterman or anybody in the production staff that they were going to do that. So everybody in the studio thought it was real. It was all the one big work, as they would call it in the wrestling profession. And yeah, that got the feud that eventually would come about in Mid-South between Lawler and Andy Kaufman all stemmed from that. They played Letterman so bad with that. It was, if you look back on it, it's even more hilarious. Now the one with Schultz and Stossel, that was real. Schultz was going to kill John Stossel. Stossel would have kept running his mouth after that. Yeah, Schultz apologized to him after the fact, but yeah, Dr. D. David Schultz was not somebody you wanted to fuck with. Put it in plain, simple English. You did not want to fuck with that guy. He was unstable at that point because all the drugs and shit he was on.
Not being really up to speed on professional wrestling, I'm thinking of John Stossel and Sergeant Schultz. This is just not. It's not doing it. No.
Dr.
People
D.
out there
David
going,
Schultz
who the hell's
and
John
Sergeant
Stossel?
Schultz. No, they're not the same. They're not the same guy.
All right, I got you, Squibby. You saw the movie Roadhouse, right?
Once ever back in the 80s.
Do you remember Terry Funk, the one of the bad bouncers that had to get shoot out of the double deuce when Patrick Swayze showed up? The actor named Terry Funk.
I'm dusting off cobwebs here, man.
All right, imagine Sammy Hagar, but tough as nails and pissed off 24 hours a day. That's David Schultz. And the John Stossel you're thinking of is the John Stossel we're talking about.
Squib, Terry Funk's the one that when he walked in the bar, he said, I heard you had balls big enough for a dump truck, but you don't look like much to me. And that Dalton just looked at him and said, opinions vary.
Which is a dumb line.
And then he beat him up when they showed up and were stopping the guys from delivering the liquor in the truck, and he started picking up bottles and breaking them. He was one of the guys that got beat up.
All right, I've got a little better idea of this. I'm not picturing some ABC reporter and a POW camp guard.
No, but that would be. I'd pay this if you could get John Banner to smack John Stossel. I'd play that 24 hours a day at my house.
Smack the mustache right off of it.
Yeah, what would make that even better is the fact there would be a zombie attack at that point attacking Stossel, because I believe John Banner's dead. So,
I know nothing. Nothing.
A zombie Sergeant Schultz beating the crap out of John Stossel. I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, but John Stossel's a good 60 years old. He was a young man when David Schultz slapped the crap out of him. So,
yeah.
But unfortunately, you'd probably have to go back to when Stossel was like a teenager to get John Banner, I think.
So, little unknown fact about Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes. Supposedly, the rifle he always carried was not a Mauser. It was a Craig Jorgensen. And I did some digging and come to find out that the Germans had captured Craigs and they were given a secondary. So, technically speaking, a guard at a camp for American servicemen could be carrying a Craig Jorgensen. Yeah. All right, enough firearm stuff. Back to wrestling.
Another interesting bit of trivia from the show on Sergeant Schultz. If you guys remember, he was actually one of the richest guys in Germany.
Huh?
See, toy company.
Yeah. Sergeant Schultz was one of the richest guys in Germany in the series. He was, before the war, he owned the largest toy company in the country. They talked about that in an episode.
Yeah. I watch Hogan's Heroes every day, like literally every day. I've got 2 or 3 books on Hogan's Heroes about behind the scenes stuff and all that kind of stuff.
So have you
go ahead, Squid.
Have you ever seen autofocus?
I don't know what that means.
Watch the movie, look up the movie Autofocus, and it'll change your whole outlook on Hogan's Heroes.
Is that a story about the dude getting killed by his prostitute drug dealing girlfriends?
No, that's about who played Hogan? What was it? Bob Crane?
Bob Crane, yeah.
Bob Crane and John Carpenter, not the director John Carpenter, Carpy, going out doing their swinging stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The hooker, his coke dealing hooker, is the one that killed him in the hotel room.
Oh, I thought, yeah.
All right. Never mind. Never mind. Let's talk about, unless you guys want to keep talking about Hogan's Heroes.
See what happens when I run my mouth?
We're going down one heck of a rabbit hole here. Sergeant Schultz was the richest guy in Germany, and Colonel Hogan was a prostituting guy murdered by a prostitute that was also a drug dealer.
Hogan!
I know nothing.
That's my theory on how Robert Hogan left this world. The FBI and the police's theory is he was dead in the hotel room when we got there, and we don't know how he did it or who did it.
Well, he was supposed to have been a womanizer and whatnot, so, you know.
You know, he was married to both of the secretaries that played on the show.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, the German one. That. In my opinion, a little bit prettier Hilda, and then after she left, the more Americanized girl. He was married to both of them. I'm pretty sure he was married to both of them. I know he was dating one of them when he was married to the American-ish girl.
Hey, man, he was married to his work. That's dedication.
I don't think that's quite what that phrase means, but yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of like his angle on that.
Yeah.
So why did you leave me for the secretary at the office? Because I was married to my work. I was dedicated.
Well, the fact that he left his wife, who was the secretary, for his girlfriend that was the secretary.
Yeah. He had an affair with his first secretary. He told you that? Nah, I was his secretary.
Yeah,
that was Three's Company. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Buck brings up Richard Dawson, Newkirk.
Yeah, Newkirk.
I mean, we all. If you watch Family Feud, he's kissed about 30% of the women in this country, I guess.
Oh, like 60,000, 30,000 or something just on the show.
Yeah.
Even your daughters too. Oh, Biden creepy fucker.
Yeah, he was the original Joe Biden.
Yeah, but it was okay when he did it though. Yeah,
because it was all fun and games.
It's all fun and
Because
games
he was paying them for it.
Yeah, kissing them, calling them darlings, one thing. Having them pet the leg hairs on the swimming pool and calling them cockroaches, that's something different.
Gross.
Yeah, and he likes when little kids jump on his lap too. Don't forget.
I don't think Richard Dawson, like Jason was saying, I think he might have gave little Sally a kiss on the forehead and said how pretty she was, but he wasn't sitting there going, "Hey, you and those barrettes over there look like you're 19."
Mm-hmm. Oh my God! Yeah. He wasn't
the girl was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
For legs crossed and shit.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't that like a military dude's daughter he said that about?
Yeah.
I think I'd have got up there and busted that old man before his security had time to help him.
Yeah, spending the rest of my life in Gitmo might be worth it, because if you tell me how attractive my 9-year-old looks, I'm fucking you up.
Yep, that's about the extent of it.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I really led us down the rabbit hole this time.
Yeah. It usually is your fault when you jump on here on the Saturday show.
I was looking for, a firearm angle there, just thinking about the Craig. So
I'll look through my books. I'll look through my books sometime this week if I get a chance, and see if I can find out anything about the rifles for you there, Squibby.
Yeah, all right.
My dealer's got a couple of them, real nice ones, but they're not for sale. They're just for display.
And don't forget this exchange with Richard Dawson. I'll be back, only in a rerun.
Yeah, but Richard Dawson, when he was like on Family Feud, you just like kind of knew who he was. You know what I mean? He had credibility. You know what I mean? It was that his actions back in the day; those were acceptable. You know what I mean? It's not like Joe Biden today. No. I think Richard Dawson was the best host they ever had for Family Feud.
Yeah, but nobody got the Running Man reference? Good Lord.
I got the Running Man reference.
Okay.
I mean, I couldn't answer because I was too busy sipping on a Cadre Cola. That hit the spot.
Plus, Richard Dawson, all 90% of those women would have went back and had sex with the dude. So it's not like they were offended by the sexiest man on earth kissing them, the hottest game show host kissing them or whatever.
Yeah, he didn't make anybody feel, was it uncomfortable or inappropriate, like the governor of New York did?
It'd be different if he was kissing them and copping a feel at the same time. Of course, that'd be great for the ratings, but yeah, then at that point, yeah. And things were different back then. People nowadays, if you take your finger and poke it in somebody's chest, that's assault. I mean, I'm waiting for them to start arresting married couples for hugging each other because they're going to say that's assault. So yeah, there was a simpler time. It was.
You know what? Really, when I think back on it and search through my memories, I am kind of puzzled that why were they attracted to a older, short, pudgy, fat guy in a 3-piece light blue suit?
British accent, fame, and money.
Well, he didn't actually have the British accent on the show because he wasn't actually British. But you know why? That scoreboard up there. That's why.
I mean, if you wear a 3-piece baby blue suit, you know, I'd say chances are you probably die a virgin.
If you're the host of a game show and you're giving away $10,000 every night, yeah, women are going to let you kiss them. Just perfectly honest. And Richard Dawson is proof of this.
Hey, they weren't giving away that much money back then.
Oh yes, they were.
It
was 10,000. No, it was 10,000 if you won the whatever they called at the end of the show, the speed round or whatever it was. Yeah, that was 10 grand.
Wasn't 5?
No, it wasn't 5.
Didn't they play like individual games, you know, for like $25, $75?
No, it was just you had whoever got the most points went on to the whatever they called their final round, and you could win 10 grand. You would have to split it 5 ways, which would be 2 grand each. But yeah, that was a good bit of money when, if you think about it, because that show started back in the 70s.
Oh yeah, that was. You buy a brand new car for that.
Oh yeah,
you buy half a house.
No, you go over to the Price is Right for a new car.
Yeah, but they all had those California emissions on them.
Man, I'll tell you the best game show, since we went down a game show path. Maybe you guys could say what your best favorite game show was. But I think the funniest, best game show there was the original match game with the celebrities that all showed up.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That was not for like the actual gamesman of it, but just the goofiness, the silliness.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my favorite shows.
One of my favorites as a kid was Let's Make a Deal, because you had all the people wearing all the goofy costumes and shit.
Yeah.
And then they go, "You want what's in the box, or do you want what's behind curtain number 2?" I'll take the curtain. They open the curtain, and it's a fucking donkey.
Yeah, it's a fucking goat tied to a fence.
And then they opened the box, and it was like $100,000 or some shit.
Yeah, but I like that match game. They always had a few hot celebrities out there, but they always had that Charles Nelson Riley, man. He was always a character.
Oh, yeah, Charles Nelson Riley. He was out there. He was funny as hell.
They'd sit and drink on that show.
Oh yeah,
like she'd have like a wine glass or something. The guy'd have like a beer. Man, they were like firing up cigarettes and.
Well, remember when they combined it with Hollywood Squares and you had the match game Hollywood Squares hour?
Remember, it was like pre-electronic world, pre-internet world. They had big fat black Sharpie markers, and they wrote their answer on a big piece of paper and held it up.
It got better. It honestly got better when they combined it with Hollywood Squares, because then you'd have Charles Nelson Riley and Paul Lund like yelling shit back and forth at each other between the two sets. It was freaking hilarious.
All you had to do was like agree with them, yes or no, if they gave a right answer, and they just gave you some like silly, ridiculous answer, so you would say no. And
that was the same thing on Hollywood Squares. It was like, yeah, but Charles Nelson Riley and Paul Lynde just yelling back weird shit to each other across the studio. That was freaking hilarious to watch.
Quick internet search there, Squibbo. The Craig rifle would be the rifle that is carried by the guards at Stalag 13.
I wonder if they. He said you were right. That was the rifle that was carried at Stalag 13. I wonder if the real ones, if what you were saying was right, and they actually did that, if they rebarreled them for 8mm Mauser, or if they just used the.
According to what I was just looking up, the book I had didn't have anything under John Banner, and so I figured let me just check the internet real quick, and I looked on the internet, and it said that the German army obviously had the Mausers or whatever, but for the cast of the show, they had the U.S. military Kriegs.
Okay, so it's going to look like a captured Norwegian Craig or something like that. It's going to look very similar, but so appearance-wise, it's going to look like a gun that could have actually been used in an actual facility like that at that time by that military.
If we're going to go into the boardroom, we're going to go back into the boardroom real quick. Squib, sit down and be quiet. There's a bunch of stupid people out in America who don't care about that rifle. And as long as it looks like an old rifle and Schultz has got it in his hand, it's a German rifle. That's the correct.
Yeah. It's another one of those meetings where I just walk out and
it's not
think about how much I'm getting paid to be in Hollywood.
Right, yeah. You're not. You keep forgetting, Squib. We're not actually trying to do anything but make the masses go ooh.
They're my grandpa's own rifle. That's the only thing we got in the budget.
Okay, they didn't have broomsticks with the word boomstick on it like the guy from the buyback.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what kind of rifles they were, so I'm one of the masses that was just like, oh, he's got a German rifle, all right.
Yeah, well, we didn't have the, unless you had a firearm book and you were, into firearms back in the 70s. What glimpses that you got of those rifles in the show, like I said, they could have been fake and you wouldn't even have noticed,
Yeah, that was the
firearms. I'm in the firearms now, and if you laid a Mosin down in front of me, I probably couldn't tell you, oh, that's a Mosin.
Oh yeah, you could. It's the one with the Russian writing on it.
It's the one with the Russian, Chinese, Yugoslavian.
I think I might be able to identify
Finnish,
an SKS.
It's one of a bunch of K's and R's and all kinds of Russian writing on it.
You were playing around with my Mosin, Kingpin.
Dude, Mosin, shotgun, handgun.
Hey, easy.
Not that, get your head out the gutter. Think happy thoughts of the bunny.
Children's show.
What he's trying to say is he named it that because it's old and long. Oh, I don't know. He might be packing a carbine. He might be packing an M44.
No, it's an M53.
Got a muscle at the cocket.
Yeah, I think that if I put any Mauser, any Mosin, any M1895 straight pull, any Carcano, any Arisaka, maybe even an 03 Springfield, any version of that, and laid them all together, and you weren't allowed to read the writing on them. And I said, all right, I'm going to give you multiple choice names of them. Now put the name, like a game show, right? Put the name next to the rifle. Yeah, it might not be your thing yet, Kingpin, but don't worry. One day you'll be at the gun show and you'll be able to pick them out, and then you'll be like, that's too much money, and just keep walking.
Yeah, I think if you take and don't factor luck, because there's really no way that you can get a percentage of how much luck you may or may not have. I may get lucky and get them all right, but most likely I'd probably get everyone wrong.
The Craig's real easy because it's got like a stamped metal box magazine on the outside of the gun.
Yeah, and you know what? You might not notice the difference between a Mosin and a Carcano because of how the box magazine, the fixed one, sticks down below it. The Arisaka should be easy to pick out if it's got the on the cocking mechanism on the back of the bolt. It's knurled. That's kind of different.
Yeah, especially when it has the dust cover on it still, which you're very rarely going to find. But
yeah.
Or the anti-aircraft sights.
I picked up a set of those.
Yeah. How optimistic could the Japanese be? I mean, they actually thought they were going to shoot down aircraft with the rifles.
Yeah. Hey, Kingpin, that's one thing I will suggest. If you happen to come across a Mosin, you ought to get yourself one. The prices have gone up, over the last years, but they're not too bad right now, even. And you can still get brand new ammo for them, and they're a lot of fun to shoot. It's basically like a Russian version of like maybe a 308 or something. It's a big boy that does a lot of damage when it hits something.
I'm pretty sure that I've never shot a Mosin. I know I've shot the M1 Grand and the M1A1. That's like kind of the same thing, right?
No.
No. It's a
Okay.
bolt action. It's a big gun, but I like the ones I've got. Haven't shot them for a couple years, but yeah, that 7.62 by 54R. That's a stout one, man.
Yeah, one of my friends I met from Maryland, MK Joe. Yeah, I'll have to introduce you one day. His name is David Fox. That's his YouTube name. And he met me up at my local range one day, and he had the M1A1 and the Garand. And those were a lot of fun to shoot. And he was talking about them like he should hang out with you guys because he was trying to explain to me that this stock is made out of this, and it's the grain goes this way for this reason, and this site looks like this because of that. And I was just like, all right, cool, man. And this is really interesting stuff, and it's interesting. I just couldn't keep up with it.
The M1A is a semi-automatic M14, and the M14 was developed from the M1 Garand, but there's enough differences that it's not quite the same rifle. They tried putting a detachable box magazine on the M1 Garand, and the Italians ended up kind of making that happen, but the U.S. military kind of went a somewhat different route. So they might look similar, they might break down similar. A lot of things. The sights are pretty much the same. All this other stuff, manual of arms, et cetera, except for exception of loading it. But I've heard a lot of people say that the M1A is a Garand, and I think or they call the Garand the M1A, and I think it's just because they don't know military rifles. I don't know why they decided to call it an M1A. It's a civilian M14. Why not just call it an M14 or an M14C or something? I don't know, but it can be kind of confusing if you put two of them together and you don't have the box magazine and the M1A. Someone might go, "Yeah, they're the same gun. This one's just maybe a little bit longer, different flash suppressor or something." So, but they are different. I mean, they're different calibers, same bullet diameter, but different calibers, different feeding system. One doesn't have an adjustable, it does. Well, the Garand doesn't have an adjustable gas block. You can put one on there, but the system in there is somewhat different as far as that goes because of. Okay, it's the same, but oh boy, it is kind of difficult to explain. Like anyhow, one is a civilian version of a military rifle. The other one is a military rifle all day long.
Yeah, and the Italian.
Both is shot really well. Ton of fun to shoot. They were both a little bit peppy. I think one of them was a little bit more peppy than the other, but it was a lot of fun. 100 yards. I mean, they were especially for my talent level, they were really, really accurate.
The Italian version of the Garand with the detachable box magazine, it'll be the perfect rifle for Jason. It's a Beretta, the BM59.
Yeah, the BM59. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little out of my price range.
Hey, it's a Beretta, man. Don't you collect all Berettas?
No, just the 92. I'm not. I'm not a fanboy of the complete lineup. You know what I mean?
Hey, come on, I
can't even recommend every part that they sell to hop them up. But for the most part, good to go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need the rifle to go with the pistol, man. I'm telling you. You got to have the match set, Jason.
Pistol and a shotgun, that'll work for me.
No, it's got to be the rifle. Well, you got to have the shotgun too. Cause how can you do 3-gun if you don't have the rifle, shotgun, and pistol?
First shot, shoot the judge. I win.
That's cheating. That's cheating.
If you shoot the judge, who's going to give you the prize at the end of the contest?
Yeah, really. Come on. What's wrong with you?
She will.
He's envisioning the bunny there to kiss him and make him feel better.
So my boss, from time to time, he gets contracts. people buy houses and rent them out, and sometimes the tenants aren't the greatest people. Sometimes they are the greatest people, and you still got to remodel the house before they can sell it or re-rent it. So when they move all the stuff out, whatever's left over after their contract is up is got to go. And the last house he was cleaning out, in the last bedroom he went in, pulled a mattress off the floor, and underneath it was a rifle that looked kind of like what you would think, I guess, like a Mosin or any of this other kind of stuff would look like. And it had a bunch of Italian writing on it and stuff like that. And I'm thinking it's a Carcano. That's the Italian one, right, Squib?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it doesn't look like it's historic or anything like that, or even like that it's been in. I just think somebody just got one and stuffed it underneath the bed, and 40 years later or 30 years later, my boss found it. But it needs a little bit of work done to it, but it's still a pretty nice looking little rifle. And he doesn't know anything about it, and from what I remember looking at it, I think it was a Carcano.
See, that could have been bought surplus at any point after the wars. Many have been imported here. It could be a bring back. I mean, I would just sometimes with these milsurps, they've never been shot and they've sat around and they're in really good shape. Other times people get them and they sporterize them, and not cool, man. Not cool. I mean, I've got a rule. If it's already been sporterized, I'll buy it, but I won't sporterize an original. And if it is sporterized, I'm going to buy it real cheap. Like if Mosins are going for $400 and you've got a sporterized Mosin, I'll give you two. And that's the funny thing is people are like, no, I did this, I did that, it's worth $7. And dude, you destroyed the value. But that's where having a good set of library or a good set of books, a library at home, if you will. If you're a milsurp collector, having a whole bunch of books is helpful. You can look up stuff on the internet. There's a lot of valuable resources on the internet, but they're not as good as a lot of the books that are out there. But dang, if you want to have your own library, it's going to be pretty pricey.
Well, he's a FUD all the way. I mean,
oh, like, not a collector?
No, he's that true definition of a FUD. The first time when I got my security 9, we were at his girlfriend's house in the backyard, and I popped off 2 or 3 rounds just to make sure, it fired and everything. And then he went to go shoot it. He pulled the trigger and racked the slide. I was like, all right, so I cleared it for him. And then he pulled the trigger again, and then he racked the slide again. So I had to clear it for him again. At this point, I started laughing. And I let him do it 2 more times, and then I showed him how to use the semi-automatic pistol. And so it's an old-looking rifle. I don't think it's a war rifle. I think, like you said, Squib was probably bought this side of the world and just stuffed into this closet for however many years, and he just happened upon it.
I always heard there's 2 Carcanos buried in the Texas desert. If you could find them, they'd probably be worth a hell of a lot of money.
Is that from a movie or?
It's from the Grassy Knoll.
Oh, those.
Yeah, those 2 rifles.
I don't think that they actually had anything to match ballistics. I'm pretty sure it went straight through.
Yeah, I love it when a plan comes together.
I thought.
Drifting off from that, that I've talked about before, the channel Small Arms Solutions. He's going to put out, he doesn't know how many videos it's going to be because he figures it's going to be pretty long, but he's going to put out a series of several videos about the Kennedy assassination from people that he's interviewed, people that actually were the forensic people there, firearms people on that investigation. And he's going to do a little series of videos on YouTube about it. Not the politics of it, not any of the conspiracy theories. he's going to show that, like, all the crazy things you heard, the bullets that, turn midair and all this and that. He's going to actually explain the science behind not the political part of it, but the science part of it. And he's been dropping hints that he's going to put that out.
Well, isn't the science of it, Lee Harvey Oswald plugged the guy while he was riding in the back of it?
Yeah, but there's what they call it, the mysterious bullet or whatever, and Kennedy.
Yeah, the magic bullet. Yeah,
the magic bullet. It hit everything in the car and hit a couple people, dude's wrist and stuff. He's gonna just show what he knows scientifically about how that is possible, and how they came up with that. How they came up with what they did.
My thing is, there've been TV shows, documentaries, or whatnot where they've recreated it, right? And they've had professionals, and when they're all done, they're going, "There's no way anybody could have made that shot." And I'm like, "You got to be kidding me! Any Marine could have made those shots with that rifle, with that optic. Period." The only thing, barring a weapons malfunction, it wouldn't have been that hard to do with some marksmanship training. You could have, be a basic marksman, barely qualify, and you got to lead the target, but it's moving slow. It's not that far. It's just like the Mandalay Bay. People are like, there's no way, and I'm like, no, I've been there. Yeah, that's very doable from up high like that, and it's just like, people think of the distance because they're out there blasting away at 10 yards with their rifle going, I'm an operator. And they've never really taken a 100-yard shot or 200-yard shot or shot at a moving target or had to do rapid fire with a bolt action or something. All of that stuff is entirely possible with enough practice. He had military experience. His basic rifle qualifications would have been enough that he would have been all right. He had an optic. It wasn't a great optic, but it was an optic. That's going to help too for a guy who's used to nothing but iron sights. So I could make those shots over and over again all day long, and I don't get the people that say that there's no way he could have gotten one hit, let alone three.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of these military guys talk about the AR at 500, 600 yards through iron sights, and then I've looked at 200 yards through iron sights, and I'm like, man, that's ridiculous. But all you guys all say it. At the range last weekend, most of the guys that are like the regulars on the day I go have all been in the military and stuff. And even the younger guys. This one new guy popped up and was talking about this new scope that he got. He's going to stretch it out to 100 yards and this, that, and the third and stuff like that. Not like bragging, just kind of like enjoying his new stuff and eager to try it. And all the military dudes were sitting there laughing, talking about, if you had to qualify at 500 or something like that with iron sights.
Yeah, that's been pretty standard in the Marine Corps for sure. I imagine the Army is the same thing. It's changed over the years. I mean, how the way they used to do it was CMP style. You actually did it competitive style. Nowadays they do it wearing combat gear, and they've got other things that they do. Some of the stuff that they do for infantry training, they've put into their marksmanship stuff nowadays. I don't know if they're using iron sights on the range, because I've seen some videos where they were using M16A2s, and this was in the past few years. But then they have an optic when they're out, once they get out to the fleet, or if they've got them all on optics right off the get-go. But yeah, the thing is, you get a lot of people in the military who've never shot a gun before. 65 guys in our platoon, right? And they're like, show of hands, how many people shot a gun? And this one guy is a total screw up. And they go over to him, and they say, "You've shot a gun?" And he said, "Yes, sir. On the Indian reservation, we've got every weapon known to man, and I've shot it." And they just started laughing. Shot a howitzer lately? Every weapon known to man. I mean, don't get me wrong; they have different rules on the Indian reservation, but still, it's like, yeah, out at the range, he couldn't. We had a guy. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I highly doubt that on Cherokee Reservation they have a 155 millimeter howitzer sitting there.
No. That's what they were joking around. That every
I
weapon known to
know,
man.
that's what
So
I'm
you got a
saying.
howitzer, huh?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I highly doubt they got a 155 millimeter howitzer sitting there.
But we had a guy from Nicaragua, didn't speak any English, and he had such a hard time, and he was scared of so much stuff. And you put him on the rifle range, and that son bitch could shoot. And then his parents sent a care package with all kinds of stuff in there he wasn't supposed to have. But then it had a bunch of Polaroids of him, and there's a picture of him holding an AK-47. Come to find out, he's a freaking Contra. So he kind of knew how to use a gun, but nothing else. So yeah, I think when you get younger guys, especially guys with no experience in there, and you teach them the fundamentals, there's always that confidence issue, right? They tried to scare the crap out of us. What they do to us if we didn't qualify, and that doesn't help. And all the other things that the adversity they put on you while you're at the range training. But I mean, we spent what did we spend 3 weeks from the time we had our first class with the weapon to the time we qualified was 3 weeks. And you're talking about being out there, what, 10, 12 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week on the range. You go from firing 3 rounds just so you can feel what it's like to sitting there all day in the California heat in different firing positions, pretending to shoot a target. Bang, click, bang, click, bang, and you're imagining this, and you're doing your breathing and your trigger squeeze, and you're doing everything. And then when you get out there, you actually are hitting targets. You're on target. You're maybe not bullseye, but you're on target right off the get-go, because they got you that muscle memory already. And I mean, they're watching you, and we had little tricks too to be able to cycle it. You can cycle an M16 with a bootlace, so you don't have to keep changing positions and whatnot. And they had one of those video simulators, much more advanced today, but back then they had a fake M16A2 with compressed air to cycle it with an air hose on it, right? And something that looked like a big video game screen that you'd shoot at. And those were for the guys that just couldn't get it. There were guys that no matter what you told them, they close their eyes, jerk the rifle, you name it. I mean, but they tried to break you of all that. And once again, you're a younger guy. It's easier to train you, stuff like that. You got an older person, maybe they're a little bit more difficult to train. They got bad habits. They think everything's like in the movies. You find out real fast it ain't like in the movies. So that stuff is really my biggest issue today. Really isn't how much range time I get. That's another thing. You don't need a lot of range time to go out there and shoot. I'm not saying you're going to be Jerry Mikulik, and that's another thing. People think that, well, if you don't shoot as good as the world's best shooter, you're obviously a bad shot. It's like, no. That's what some of these guys who do these classes fill you full of so much bullshit. It's a bunch of horse shit. But the thing is, for some people, if they don't go out and shoot all the time, it's like they forget how to use a gun. For the rest of us, it's not that big of a deal. Maybe you're not, shooting tight groups right away, but it's really not that hard to get back into it. But for the most part, as long as you got the fundamentals, you're good to go. My biggest issue is my eyesight. I'm older. And with my eyesight, if I can't see the sights, I can't hit the target. But if I can see the sights, I can hit the target. It's just not that hard to do. I'm not going to have bullseyes at 500 meters every single freaking time. I may not even have bullseyes at 100 meters, but I'm going to get it on target. And for some people, they go, oh, well, you suck. I was like, all right, here you go. Oh, no, I need a scope. I need this. Nope, here you go. Go ahead. Put it on target. Just get it in the ring. You ain't got to have it right there in the 10 ring. Just get it, in the bullseye. That's, you got an 8-10 inch target at 100 yards. You can't hit that. For me, an 8-inch target at 100 yards or 200 yards or 300 yards is still, minute of man. So there's a lot to be said about what people think you should do, and then what people can actually do, and what actually really works, or what's going to save your life in a combat situation, or what might put food on the table in a hunting situation. Defense Dad did a video talking about the optic he put on his lever action rifle for deer hunting. And he says he's going to catch a bunch of crap from purists because he put an optic on a lever action. I've got an optic on my lever action. I didn't start off that way, but I realized with my old eyes, I need everything I can to bring light into my eye so that I can see the target. And with that optic on there, it helps a lot. But if you're young with young, healthy eyes, and you're starting off with an optic, I think you're starting off with a bad habit. And if you ever have to use irons, even though the principles are somewhat the same, I think you'll be lost.
Yeah, my stepfather's 30-30 J.C. Higgins' version of the Marlin, he had an optic on it. I mean, but an optic on a lever gun's not that big a deal, no matter what Snob says.
It's okay as long as it's not a Winchester.
Yeah, it's harder to put one on a Winchester.
You can put a scope on a Marlin if you want to.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. One of the things I don't like about the Winchester is that damn out the top ejection.
Yeah, I got one that's top. I got two of them that's top eject, and I got one that's angle eject. But I've had, believe it or not, the angle eject one. Just the way I was like tilting the rifle sideways and doing the lever. The one day I had a pocket T-shirt on, and I got like 2 or 3 shells that when I ejected them, they went in the air and went into my shirt pocket.
Okay then. You're playing the cup and ball game with your rifle in your shirt pocket.
Yep. Just the way I was doing it, that's how it ended up. It was crazy. But I guess if I would have had a scope, then the shell would have bounced off the tube of the scope, and that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless you got a shell deflector, then it would have bounced off the deflector, which will be the way you'd want to go. You don't want the shells cracking off your scope.
Instead of putting a scope on your lever gun to go hunting, just use lake traps. Then you can get much closer with your rifle to them where you don't need a scope.
Uh-huh.
Like, you guys don't use deer traps?
You guys did a whole bunch of laughing last year or a couple of years ago at the people in Venezuela. But if you were smart, you'd be scoping out the zoo and trying to figure out which one of these zoo animals you want to kill first with social.
Did they end up doing that, or?
Oh yeah, they were eating zoo animals and everything. Yeah.
Oh my god!
No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stalk the deer hunters, and once they get their kills out of the woods, then I'm going to strike, and then I'm going to take their deer, so because they already carried it out of the woods, and then I don't have to.
But if you just wait a little bit and do it right, make them load your truck first.
Or
there are those with guns and those who dig.
Yeah, and there's those who load. There's those who with guns and those who drag deer.
Better yet, wait till they get it butchered, and then steal it from after they got it butchered. Then you don't have to worry about that part either. Just follow the FUDs.
You remember the scene in Independence Day where he's dragging that alien in his parachute across the desert, and he turns around, kicks it in the head, and what the hell is that smell and all that? I drug a deer. I swear it was a mile. It probably wasn't, but it sure as hell felt like it. And I tried all kinds of stuff. First, I tried dragging it by its front legs. That only got it so far, and I'm breathing real hard. All right, this isn't going to work. So then I go ahead and I zip tied the front and back legs together and looked like some sort of bondage thing. And I got the first fallen branch that was about 10 foot long I could get, shoved it in there, picked the deer up, started walking. The branch was rotted, instantly broke. Damn it. I'm walking through the woods trying to find something sturdy that's already broke. I don't have a hatchet with me. And it's like, I got to find something. And I'm going further and further into the woods. And I finally find something, drag it all the way back through all the brush and everything. Get in it. I got it over my shoulder. The rifle's falling off my shoulder, the sling and all that. And I'm dragging it. It was bad. It got to the point where I just said, screw it. And I slung the rifle crossway. I slung it upside down, and I think I picked the deer up or something and was just walking it 20 feet at a time, setting it down. That was, I don't know. People say, you don't want to shoot a small deer, but they're a lot easier to drag out of the woods.
Do you see MK Joe's trivia question out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that thumbnail.
I'm checking that thumbnail out, and
one CM Punk.
I just can't. My eyes just can't see enough to try to make a guess of who that is.
The one coming off the top rope looks like CM Punk's boots with he's kind of got like the flag of Chicago and shit because he's from Chicago. Kind of looks like that. And so I'm thinking that one, and he's got his arm, the way he's got his fists and wrist tape. CM Punk used to do that. So the one on the mat, I can't tell who it is, but the one that's jumping off the rope, it looks like it's CM Punk.
Somebody text DM Foss and ask.
It's Mighty Mouse. That's who it is.
Yeah, he's got tattoos too, so Punk's got tattoos. Can't really make out the tattoos that well.
Okay, maybe you guessed it, Rich.
Yeah. Real name Phil Brooks, by the way. So if there were bonus points for that. So if I would have said
Mel Brooks, is that what you said?
Phil Brooks. Philip Brooks is his real name. I don't know if I would have got credit if I would have gave his real name or not. But, yeah.
You think he just Googled wrestling and took the first still image he could find?
Possibly. I don't know. I don't know if Faust watches wrestling or not. Come on, man. MKJO should have known I would have got that one.
Oh, that didn't work because I didn't follow what Kingpin said. It's professional wrestling.
Right.
Prime time wrestling.
Yeah. But, I can't believe MKJO didn't think that somebody on this panel would have got that. Come on, man.
Let me guess, Rich. You used to get like the wrestling magazines and stuff before the internet, right?
When I was a kid, fuck yeah.
Still got them?
Shit, I probably have some somewhere. But CM Punk wasn't all that long ago, to be honest. There's still people that think he's going to come back at some point. He's stated he's done with professional wrestling, and yet you still get these wrestling channels speculating that he's going to sign with this promotion or that promotion. Every time they say that somebody big is going to be signing with someplace else, all of a sudden here goes the speculation that it's going to be CM Punk. The guy hasn't been in wrestling for I don't know how many years now as a wrestler, and people still think he's going to be making a comeback. He doesn't want to do it anymore. If he did, he would have been back already.
I think the beatings he took in the UFC were enough to make him just decide to take it easy.
He was always overrated anyway. I never thought he was that great, to be perfectly honest. I was never a big fan of CM Punk. I don't get what people see in that guy, to be honest. But if he were to come back, I don't think it would be AEW because his former best friend, who he ended up in a legal fight with, Colt Cabana, is signed with AEW. So I don't think he's going to go there. The two of them, yeah, that'll be oil and water right there. And I don't think he's going to ever work for Vince McMahon again because the two of them don't see eye to eye either. At some point you got to stop and realize, Mr. Phillip Brooks, that you may be the problem. Just saying. Basically, he's burnt two bridges very badly. Vince McMahon said he'll never work with him again, and Vince will work with anybody if there's money to be made. The simple fact that the Ultimate Warrior is in the Hall of Fame right now is proof of that. The fact that Hulk Hogan went back and was working for WWE after WCW went out of business is proof of that, because Hogan and Vince did not split on amicable terms when Hogan left the WWF back in the early 90s. If Vince McMahon says he's never going to work with you again and there's potential for money to be on the table, that should tell you something about yourself too. Just throwing that out there. Yeah, we've been going for about 2 hours. I think it's time to start wrapping this up. I think isn't Faust going to be starting his show soon?
Echo is live right now, I think. And Guns and Barbecue. Echo and the Bunny Man has got the Second Amendment Chit Chat is his title. That's live right now, apparently. And then Guns and Barbecue is live.
Yeah, I know. I know he is. The blind guy got to quirk me every Saturday.
Dangerous Freedom's alive if you're into that kind of stuff. And that's all I know of right now.
Yeah. Time this supposed to arrive. Well, live in 4 hours. Okay, we got time on that one.
Yeah, Fosta's late night for the West Coast.
Yeah, that's early morning on East Coast. Holy cow. People said he goes live late at night. I'm thinking like 12, 1 o'clock, not 4 a.m. I guess for them that is like 1 o'clock in the morning out there. All those people living in the past. Thinking they're Jethro Tull or something.
More of the West Coast sucks than the East Coast sucks.
Hey, don't forget, tomorrow is D-Day.
Yes, it is.
Better break out my M1 Garand.
One of the bloodiest days in U.S. military history. Remember last weekend? That was in remembrance of this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Amongst other things.
Yeah.
Be a good day to watch Saving Private Ryan.
Or The Longest Day, or both.
Now I gotta look this up. I don't even know if I can look up programming on my local whatever on. Well, it's got to be on the internet. Everything's on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, they should have your local TV listings online. I'm sure like AMC, or not AMC, well, possibly AMC, but TCM or somebody will have at least one of those movies on tomorrow. I know TCM did a marathon last weekend of various war movies. I think my wife watched just about all of them when she was awake.
Okay, that's too much reading to do. I'll just look on demand.
Let's get one of those remote controls that you can talk to.
Yeah, just ask her what's on this.
I've got one.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Xfinity comes with that. Like, what's on TCM? You know?
I got it right now. Let's see what it says. Alexa, find me Saving Private Ryan.
Jason's house is bugged.
Mm-hmm.
Top results: Saving Private Ryan, 5 stars, 2 hours 49 minutes, 1998. The only description is a team of U.S. soldiers go behind enemy lines. Uh-oh. Sorry about that.
Starts playing the movie. Next thing you know, he's got a $15 charge on his cable bill.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I just didn't want Rich to get a channel strike for. It wasn't anything but music. So,
Alexa, who is Rich White?
Rich White is a 1%er that lives in West Virginia.
Or it might tell you it's a character that was played by oh, what the hell's his damn name? What's his name now? Matt Dillon. Matt in some movie. The actor, not the character on Gunsmith.
Alexa, who is Rich White?
Rich White is a notable person, 25 years old. Rich White was born on May 17, 1996.
That ain't me.
But he's a notable person. None of us know who he is, but he's notable.
Rich White is the cause of every problem known to man on Earth, but at the same time, the cause for everything good known to man on Earth. That's a weird dilemma that us leftists are having.
Alexa, who is Night Strike?
Night Strike a person and Night Strike the musical act.
Night Strike's a person.
No, asking who Night Strike 1 is.
Night Strike the entity.
Alexa, who is Night Strike 1?
Here's something I found on the web. According to Kinsider.com, Nitrecle and nitrite is a reptilian-like species that more recently have been space pirates or bandits, having conquered planets that were ruled by a trade organization.
Alexa, you're like a stupid bitch.
Yeah, that was way more talking than you need to do to describe Night Strike.
Something about space pirate or some shit. What the hell?
Well, technology does have its bugs to work out. I'd have died if Alexa said when I called her stupid. If she turned around, she said, "Blame Night Strike."
It's his fault.
All right, wait a minute. Technically, it's not Night Strike's fault. But it would have been Night Strike invented Alexa, and he also invented being someone's fault. So technically, it's his fault, but technically, he's just more at fault for inventing everything.
Everything's Night Strike's fault.
Only because he invented everything.
Yeah. I guess you can't kill the messenger.
Which Night Strike invented, by the way.
You should ask it. Not ask. You need to ask Alexa if everything is Night Strike's fault.
Alexa, why do they always blame Night Strike 1? She's thinking.
You broke her.
She's scared.
Oh,
she doesn't want to get on record talking about Night Strike.
It said, question, why did you always blame Night Shark 1? Alexa, guntube.org.
I found a few skills that might help. Do you mean JWORG register?
Alexa, guntube.org.
I found a few skills that might help. Do you mean JW?
You keep doing this, there's going to be a couple federal agents knock on his door.
Alexa, what is a squib load?
Unlovable yet irascible.
Oh, she ain't got nothing to say. She gave me a list for games and apps.
There's an app for me? Oh, man. I hope they have it for Android.
Alexa, what is a squib load?
As a noun, squib can have a few meanings. 1. A short and witty or sarcastic saying or writing. 2. A short news story, often used as a filler. 3. A small firework, consisting of a tube or ball filled with powder, that burns with a hissing noise terminated usually by a slight explosion. 4. A firecracker broken in the middle so that it burns with a hissing noise but does not explode.
Alexa, do you need a hearing aid?
I actually have a video about one of those definitions. At the gas station chain I go to, they have a word of the day that is one of the things that plays on the video screen while you're pumping gas. And I look over, word of the day, squib. Get the fuck out of here. So I had to pull out the camera, start filming.
That was a good video.
I mean, you've made it big.
That's right.
When you're on a gas pump,
Yeah.
There's your 15 minutes.
You need to ask Alexa if she needs a hearing aid.
Alexa, do you need a hearing aid?
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Oh, I turned the volume down. She said sorry, she wasn't sure.
That will be a yes. But she obviously didn't hear the question.
Yeah, I guess I do open myself up to Amazon surveillance with Alexa, don't I?
Your electronics will listen to you, but it's mostly just a suggestive cell.
Yeah. Now ask her what the flight speed of an unladen swallow is.
Yeah, that's a good one.
In all honesty, I don't use that talking remote very much. So it's not really like in tune to what I say. It's got to like learn your voice.
Yeah, we had one. It eventually burned up and stopped working. It became a puck. I guess.
Mine's the TV doing it.
Oh, okay. I didn't follow up with the Alexa technology getting more and more advanced, and I was talking to some relatives, and I guess they've got one in every room of the house, and they can tell the primary Alexa downstairs, listening to child A's bedroom, and the Alexa in there will just turn on, and you can just hear what the kid is doing in the room. And I'm like, well, I guess that's a way to keep an eye on your kids if you're lazy and you don't raise them that you can trust them. But sure. And then I guess the Alexa has the ability to take over stuff or take control of certain things, or they were trying to explain it to me. I didn't quite get it, but I'm like, yeah, I just like the hockey puck. You could ask it questions and stuff. Mine got to the point where it was constantly asking me if I wanted to buy something and where I could, start saying, would you like me to go to this site to buy this for? It's like, no. But you know what? I guess if you want to have one in every room, it's like having an intercom or something. But technology is good and bad. I could see a lot of good things with it, and I could see some other things that are bad. A lot of people are like, oh, the government's tracking you, and the government isn't tracking us. They could, with a court order and stuff, they could. But the thing is, these companies are looking to buy this data so they can figure out how to market stuff to us. They just want to make money off of us. And if the government can find a way to make money off of us by tracking us, I bet that would be their first reason.
The government's already, it's already been proven that the government's tracking whenever they want to. That's not really a surprise. We've known that for 50 years, though.
But when people say that, they imply that there's a room.
Oh no! I mean, there's a giant warehouse that's got all the servers in it, but Fred's not sitting there listening to this conversation right now.
But that's what people imply, though.
Well, people are stupid. But I've been in houses, man, from what do they call it? Lower class all the way up to the 1% of the 1%. And all kinds of different versions of people have all these Alexas, and some of them have them, like a couple of them in the same room. And just all day they're listening to you work. Like they'll go to work and be like, "Oh, have a good day. Feel free to, get a bottle of water out of the fridge or whatever you want." You know that there's cameras all over their house. And then you get into some of these people's houses that are super duper rich and they don't even lock their doors. But it's kind of creepy when you can almost kind of tell from the vibe that the customer gives off if they're going to be spying on you all day.
They got security cameras at work, but they're only in places to show if employees are loafing off or if they show up late. It's not there for security of the building, which is a foreign concept to me. I used to have a camera system that was there literally for security, not that the employees were so dumb. They would think that the little LED for right next to the test button in the emergency ballast up in the light fixture was a camera. So they thought every third light fixture had a camera and we were watching them. And it's like, yeah, because, in one of the rooms, there's 500 monitors and we're just, no, that's just an emergency ballast. But there's so much as far as limitations to cameras and mics and all that other stuff, but you've got to filter through that. They can have bots, but we see how the YouTube bots screw things up. So you might get somebody knock on your door for a mistake, or they may start looking into you because of a mistake a bot made. But if they have any sense, they start looking into it and they go, no, it was just a mistake. It mistook this word, or they didn't use this word in a context or whatever. And then they're going to go look for whatever they're supposed to. But the thing is, though, if they were really watching us, some of these mass murderers that were on their radar would have been stopped. So I really just don't think they're watching us,
But you also got to take into consideration that the people that are watching us are the laziest, scummiest people out there, and they're not going to waste a whole bunch of time listening to the wrestling chat on Saturday night. They got people like Donald Trump they can listen in on, and Benjamin Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin. I don't think they're wasting their time listening to Kingpin.
Hey man, you're the king of the pin people. Of course they're going to survey you.
Well, yeah, but I mean I can't really. That's different. That's some Illuminati type of stuff that are people are watching me.
You made the radical list.
Uh-huh.
When I was working for this medical supply company, I was based obviously in the East Coast, but we'd have to go out, fly all over the country, and then every year go out to California. So I was always at the airport, always on a plane, and every single time I would get pulled aside for an advanced search or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they call it. And eventually one day we're leaving California, and there's like 5 or 6 of the guys from work, and they were just talking about TSA and the long lines and all that. And I said we were probably 5 minutes away from the security in the line. And I was like, I said, I guarantee I get pulled out of this line for an advanced search. And they were like, no, you won't, man. You're just lying. That never happens to you. And sure enough, they pulled me out of line and gave me an advanced search. And I asked the guy, I was like, how come every time I fly on an airplane, I get pulled out of line? I don't know if he was telling me the truth or not, because I don't remember looking at the ticket to see if there was anything different in it. But he said that my ticket was marked. He said that I was a marked flyer, so that's why I get pulled off every time. But the last 2 times I got on a flight, which was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I didn't get pulled aside.
Did you get a letter from the state that said, congrats, you have not been chosen for video surveillance?
Yeah, congratulations, you have not been disapproved.
For electronic surveillance, yeah.
I started the paperwork on a gun today, so next Saturday I should pick it up. And if I can figure it out, then I'll print out that email and make a video about it. I just don't know enough about a computer to save it somewhere and redact stuff that needs to be cut out.
Yeah. Congratulations. We've decided not to infringe upon you.
He already gets enough of that. Congratulations. You have not been disapproved.
Yeah, like today I went to the gun shop and they had the same amount of ammo. I know everybody always says so. They had the same amount of ammo that they usually have. And the only thing I can really remember is I think there was some 9mm defense rounds for like $20 a box. I think it's like a 20-round box or something. And then there was the 5.56, and they wanted $17.50 a box. But anyway, most of their handguns were $1,000 plus, so they were packed full of handguns. Same sporadic amount of rifles on the shelf, but the handguns were all like super expensive this week. Anyway, you got to use a credit card to apply, because there's another $10 fee for processing of the I guess it's the 4473. So when they process that, I've got the stupid purchase permit. So obviously I've passed background checks. I've been to this gun store a million times. I've bought a trillion guns. So why not just, instead of making me wait 8 days, which is really only 7 days, just approve me and let me leave with my gun? I mean, that's so stupid.
I have a good idea for a new T-shirt. I'm gonna get me a T-shirt printed up that says "Good news. I don't hate you at the moment."
Yeah. I mean, somebody just wants to say hi. He just climbed up on my lap purring. So
I'm gonna start getting "You have not, congratulations, you have not been disapproved" T-shirts made.
yeah. Now MKJO can be happy he got to see the kitten.
Is that the Terrorizer?
Yeah.
Right now
he's
trying
to. Yeah, right now he's trying to be cute and kiss ass and purring his little butt off right now.
But it's not your cat.
No, it's not my cat. He thinks he is.
Uh-huh.
He
Rich
thinks
don't
he
like
is.
cats.
That is my daughter's cat, but he thinks he's my cat for some reason. I don't know why.
Rich is
Ever
the
since
cat lady.
ever since he was real little, he would climb up and fall asleep on my lap and shit. I don't know what it is. That cat just likes me for some reason.
Really, Rich? Nobody likes a cat.
I just called my dog over. The house is all dark, and the dog is black, and it's just kind of eerie seeing this dog just creep out of the darkness.
Materialize out of nowhere.
Yeah, kind of.
You need to come up with a curfew on it.
Now, she is one lazy bitch. She was laying down, gets up, walks over, comes over next to me, and lays back down again.
We've been joined out there by Bernie Sanchez, not to be confused with the other idiot that's named Bernie.
My dog this afternoon, it was bath time, so I got a little kiddie swimming pool, and I put a little bit of water at a time at trying to get to warm up and everything today. But this dog is like probably getting up close to 18 or 20 years old. He's very slow. He can barely move and walk, and he doesn't go very far at a time. Well, I got him to go outside, and I was surprised he was following me. We went outside, and as soon as he turned the corner and he seen that swimming pool full of water, that dog took off 100 feet to the back end of the yard at the fence. I had to go get him. I had to nudge him and turn him and straighten him up every foot of the way to get him back to that swimming pool. He was not happy.
I just thought, how do we know that he isn't Bernie Sanders? I mean, you got the Bernie part, but look at
It's Burnaby.
yeah, but he says call him
Bernardo.
Bernie, but he says call him Bernie, and look at his last name, SAN, and then replace the C with a D, the H with an E,
Oh boy, here we go down the
the E with an
conspiracy
R,
rabbit hole.
and the Z
Where's
with an
Rob?
S. And you got Bernie Sanders. See?
Is he gonna give me $1,000 a week for life?
I don't know. Ask him.
It is him, isn't it?
The dog we got right now, when it was a puppy, we had another dog too, so we got like a kitty swimming pool to let the dogs stomp around in during the summer. And they didn't take into consideration their first dog, Peyton, would get in and she'd stomp around during the middle of the day, but at night, when you finally convince her to go outside to go to the bathroom, she'd go out, do her thing, and be ready to go back in and go back to sleep. It didn't matter whether it was 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or what. Whenever they would take Chance out, first thing he would do is jump right in that pool, man. It was funny, dude. The dog would be soaking wet at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they'd have to be sitting there toweling him off.
Yeah, we used the male that I used to have. I used to take him to a I don't know what you'd really call it. They call it like a corgi convention here. But we go over at the fairgrounds, and there would be like 100 corgi dogs there, like him. And when them dogs get around each other, it's not like strange dogs. You could take those corgis and take them up to a row of like 10 dogs they've never seen before, and they'll just go there and sit down. They don't sniff each other's butts. They don't bark at each other. They act like they've been raised next to each other. It's pretty cool. So they have like different events and obstacle courses and stuff. And one of the contests is they got a little kiddie swimming pool, and they'll take a hot dog, cut it up in pieces, and throw hot dogs in the pool. And then you let your dog go run, jump in the pool, and they give them like 30 seconds to see how many hot dogs they can eat.
That that just seems like really funny. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, they just go right at it, man. These little tiny small leg dogs, they enjoy that little like convention circus thing over there. My dog loved it all the time, loved the attention.
You'll have to tell Travis P11 about that. He's got the corgis.
Yeah, they're really cool. You swear to God, you can take them over there, and once they're around a corgi just like them, they're like a pack dog or whatever, natural instinct. They will just sit there next to each other and not even look at each other, not messing with each other, just hanging out like they're just sitting there.
Yeah, Ammo Dog's pretty cool.
But this one I got down here at my feet at the moment, he's too old for any activities like that.
Yeah, but they build them tough. I mean, they're muscular. I mean, they're working dogs, so maybe that's why the dogs live that long.
I think this one's just been lazy his whole life, so he hasn't used up much of it.
So it's an old car, but it's got low miles.
Yeah, he's really a sweetheart of a little dog, man. He's just got lots of love in his heart. I've only heard him bark once. I've had him about 4 years maybe, and 3-4 years. And yeah, he doesn't bark it much. He's just a loving little soul. He's an old one though. He's a rescue dog. He was lost out in the wild, and was found running down railroad tracks and stuff. And he'd been out for a long time, and I think he was like so hungry and starved for food that like once I got him, he basically doubled his weight. He blimped up inside. He eats like a horse. I'm afraid he always thinks that he might have to go without eating again.
I don't know. Lots of dogs are pigs.
Yeah, he's supposed to weigh around 25, 26 pounds. And geez, a long time ago, he broke the 60-pound mark.
Damn.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like the physical, the science behind it on the physics, his feet, the pads on his feet can't hold the weight of his body, and it's like he's walking around on ice all the time. And yes, the vet has yelled at me a million times.
We're gonna have to start wrapping this up, guys. I am starting to fall asleep. Not that you're putting me to sleep, Jason. It's just I've been up since like early this morning. So it's like I'm trying to stay awake, and then I'm starting to fail at it. So we gotta start wrapping this up. So Squid, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, good night.
Thanks for jumping in. What about you, Jason? Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Nah, good show tonight, man. Good to see everybody.
Thanks for jumping in. What about you, Kingpin?
See y'all later. Peace out.
Yep. Again, thanks for jumping in as well. So, with that out of the way, we will bid you all adieu for tonight, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow night for This Week Unloaded around 8, between 8:30 and 9 tomorrow night. Got to talk about a psychiatrist in New York who has anger issues and needs a psychiatrist of her own. So,
The crazy lady.
yeah, she's nuts. So, we'll see you then. Have a good night, everybody.
Remember D-Day tomorrow.
Yep.